Welcome back, everybody, to the Texas Stars Intermission Report. We're here with Dallas Stars goaltender coach Mike Valley. And, Mike, part of your duties, of course, is to keep an eye on the prospects, and Texas falls well within that range. Tell me a little bit about what you've been able to do so far this season with the Stars goalies down here in Texas with both Christopher Nilstorp and Jack Campbell.
Well, first off, it's been a great opportunity to be down here as much as I have been. I've pretty much spent every day here that they're home. And that's usually pretty rare because obviously if there's an NHL season going on, you might get down here for 6 to 8 days a month. So it's been really nice to be able to spend a lot of time with them, especially since we have two goaltenders that are new to the league in different situations. So on one hand, you have Jack Campbell, who's a young 20-year-old who's still trying to find his way in a lot of areas. And then you have Christopher Nilstorp, who's a 28-year-old who has a ton of pro experience, but is really trying to get adjusted to a new style of hockey. And so it's been different challenges with both goaltenders. I think Christopher's done a really, really nice job getting kind of acclimated to the different style of game over here. Obviously here he's being asked to play more pucks. Things happen a little bit quicker. Quite frankly, guys have a more shooting mentality here. In Europe, they look to pass a little bit more often, so it's an adjustment for him. But I think he's done a really, really good job. And what you see is a mature goaltender who is very confident, doesn't overmove, doesn't overplay things, and relies a lot on positioning. So there's a lot of maturity to his game. On the other hand, you have Jack, who is a very athletic guy, works his tail off. But there's a balance in that, too. You have to find your positioning. You have to learn to read plays. You have to learn to be patient in certain situations. And that's something that takes time. And, he's moving along in that process. And that, like I said, that process takes time.
You almost have to rein in Campbell a little bit in that regard just because of how young and energetic he is, how athletic he is, and how much he really wants to attack and challenge the shooters?
Yeah, you do. And you look at any young goaltender, you look at Marc-Andre Fleury when he came into the league, into the American Hockey League, and then in the NHL, he was overactive at times. And, he ended up obviously going through a knee injury that's eventually kind of helped him because it slowed down his game a little bit. And you also kind of just figure it out. But most goaltenders, it takes till they're 25, 26 till you really start getting it. So Jack is definitely way ahead of the curve. And but again, I mean, the process is the process. It can't be rushed. And there's so many learning experiences, good and bad, that will help him eventually become an NHL goaltender.
One of his enthusiastic moments is he seems to be very comfortable playing the puck. You want to try to harness a lot of his energy, but allow him to really use that to be a positive part of his game?
Yeah, I mean, he's fantastic at that aspect of the game. He, obviously my first season with Dallas, I had Marty Turco, and Marty is one of the best in the game in it. And, if I look now at puck-handling goaltenders, I mean, you can definitely put Jack up there. He's very, very comfortable at handling the puck, and it really helps out, too. I mean, it helps out your D-man, and it's a strong asset in his game that, we want to make sure that we harness, and that really gets to evolve into the next level of play as well.
On the other side, Christopher Nilstorp, who has not been told to go play the puck a lot when he was playing over in Sweden for Färjestad. How hard is that for a goalie to change that mentality? I mean, he seems like he's been making a lot of strides, but I mean, to go from being told stay in your crease to go get everything, it has to be a bit of an adjustment.
Yeah, I mean, it's a huge adjustment, and we don't want him to go out there and do everything. I mean, the primary role of a goaltender is to stop the puck, and if we can help out our defensemen and handle the puck a little bit, that's great. But we're not asking Christopher to go out there all the time and handle it. Just because of the way the game works over here, yes, you have to go back and stop pucks behind the net, and you can certainly see that he's getting more comfortable with that. But the whole thing with him when it comes to puck handling is let's just keep it simple. Go out there, stop the puck, set it up for your D-man, and get right back in your net. And, we're not asking for any passes to the mid-ice and send him on a breakaway. So we'll keep it simple with him.
Another thing that he has to deal with here is the ice surface, particularly the width, which is such a big difference from the Swedish game. And a lot of international rinks use the wider ice surface. He and other Swedish goalies that I've seen in the past have always talked about how different the angles are. It really changes the way. You mentioned the pass-first mentality. That also changes quite a bit. But why are the angles so much different because of the width of the ice that really throws off a goalie's positioning?
Well, I mean, it's kind of as crazy as it sounds, like your spatial awareness, where you are standing. And I know for myself, when I grew up playing over here and went over and played in the Swedish Elite Series, it was just a huge adjustment. And all of a sudden, you don't really know where you are. And again, I talk about that spatial awareness, and that's just takes time to get used to. And for him, you could see there was certain times where he just didn't feel as comfortable. But, I think he's really done a nice job adjusting to that now.
When a team like Dallas is scouting a player like Chris, and they watch him play in Sweden, what are some of the things that stand out to them? Because they obviously have to see a potential to translate to the style of play here, which is obviously very different. But also, as he gets to 28, I mean, he's not the 20-year-old like Jack when it comes to being an early-level prospect. He still, for a goalie, has a lot of years in him. But what kind of things really caught their attention?
Well, I mean, when you're looking at an older goaltender, you're obviously looking for immediate impact. You sign a guy like Christopher to come over and challenge for an NHL position, and the reality of it is when you see an older guy, his technique is refined. He reads the play really, really well. He is really a late developer. When he was in his early 20s, he was, contemplating whether he was going to continue playing the game or not. So, I mean, it really he's gone through his bumps and bruises, and he's just at a different stage in his career. And saying that the qualities that he has, again, with both technical and mental side, how to handle the mental side of goaltending, is really impressive. And, I certainly think that he can play at the next level.
He has a tendency to find himself without his goalie stick a lot, especially early in the season. But when talking to him as he's preparing his goalie sticks, he says, I don't even use this to stop the puck that much, which is ironic because a lot of goalies use that almost more than their equipment, the rest of their pads. Is his style unique a little bit in that sense, so that he almost doesn't seem to rely on the stick as much?
Well, I mean, in Europe, you have, especially in Sweden right now, you have a real blocking mentality that you can go down and just be positionally sound. In North America, it's a little bit different. Yes, it's good to be blocking and not overmove, but you also need that added athleticism in your game. And, he has that, and, he reminds me of a lot of Kari Lehtinen in a way where he just has kind of that dry humor anyhow, that you can't really figure them out all the time. But anyhow, he does have a good stick, and but the way that he covers low and seals the ice with his pads and his flexibility, certain respects he's right. Yesterday he lost his stick, and there was a wraparound, and there was nothing but pad waiting for that puck. But I would encourage him to try to hold on to that thing.
Sounds like, I don't know Lehtinen at all myself, but it sounds like you put the two of them in a room together, he and Nilstorp, that could be a really dangerous combination.
Yeah, they're beauties, those two.
Tell me a little bit about what the organization has in store for Jack Hammond. I mean, obviously right now it wasn't just about letting him play every game and learn by being in the net and the ups and downs of being a rookie starter. Joe even mentioned it. Joe Nieuwendyk last week wanted to have competitive competition here, but overall, what are sort of the long-term plans or hopes, I should say, maybe for Jack?
Well, it's as a coach, you look at it and you tell an athlete, you tell a player that it's a process, and it's like climbing up a ladder. You got to take one step at a time. You can't skip steps, and as a player, sometimes it's tougher because you want to get there quicker than anybody else expects you to get there. So, it is a process. And, what we expect of Jack, well, we expect Jack to be a fantastic NHL goaltender. Do I believe he's going to get there? Yes. Do I think it will take a little time? Absolutely. But he is taking huge steps each year, each month. And even when you're not playing as much, I mean, this is the first time in his career where he hasn't, consistently been the guy in net every night. And there's a learning process in that. you can learn from watching other goaltenders. You can learn great things from sitting there and watching Christopher and how patient and how calm he is in the net. So the learning never stops, whether you're playing or not. And it becomes another challenge too when you don't consistently play, and then all of a sudden you get the tap on the shoulder and you have to go in. Well, now all of a sudden there's that extra side of being mentally prepared to be able to just go in and play good when called upon. So I mean the learning process that he's going through, is just so invaluable, and everything that's good takes time.
It's interesting you mentioned that, because some of the goalies that I've worked with in the past, and I point out Michael Layton because of his experience that he played with us in Albany a number of years ago in 07-08. He came down with a plan that he wanted to play 50-plus games. He wanted to play every day. He wanted to get into a rhythm and ultimately earn that NHL contract, which he did with Carolina the next year. He said he's better when he plays. He liked to play the 3-and-3s, although sometimes physically felt a little weak on the third game, but said that it helps him to play all the time. I mean, that's got to be not just mentally but also physically a real challenge for a guy like Jack to be able to learn, to be able to come in at his best when he's not playing in a rhythm.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you look at when you do play every night, the beautiful thing about that is you do less thinking. You come to the rink, you kind of go through your routine, you go out and play, and you don't overanalyze things. When you're not playing on a consistent basis, you tend to have more time to think about things, good and bad. So you kind of get caught dwelling on certain situations. But in saying that, you look at a guy like Richard Bachman, who we had as a backup last year. He had been playing his whole career. Now all of a sudden you're asked to sit there and maybe play 2 out of 10 games. And when you do get the tap on the shoulder on the road in Chicago, you have to find a way to be good and stop the puck and give your team a chance to win. So ultimately, the top goaltenders have a way of being able to play well, regardless of how much they've played. When they get the tap on the shoulder, they're ready to go.
Quick last question for you, and it's sort of an interesting theory here, is why do you think it takes goalies a little bit longer, especially top prospects, to season themselves for the NHL, whereas the first round draft pick of certain skaters seem to be able to get in and make an impact, especially the offensive minded players, a little bit sooner?
Yeah, I mean, with goaltending, it's so much experience. It's reading situations. I mean, you can have the quickest reflexes in the world, and but if you're not reading the play correctly, you'll always be chasing the play. And so you'd see the top goaltenders in the NHL, they make it look easy. It's almost like everything hits them in the chest. That's not because the shooters are bad. It's because they're so positionally well positioned that it just makes it look easy. And I think that's in any sport. If you look at a golfer or a tennis player, I mean, ultimately when you're at that top level, you just make everything look easy. Time slows down, and ultimately that's, again, comes through experience.
Mike, great insights. I really appreciate your time. Thanks so much, and good luck tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Mike Valley, the Dallas Stars goaltending coach, joining us here in the Intermission Report. You're listening to the Texas Stars Hockey Network.